EA Sports. It's in the game.
With EA Sports finally announcing that college football video games are finally coming back, the hype and excitement is unbelievable, but at the same time, there's some pessimistic fans worried that EA Sports is going to ruin the new college football game that we all love and is considered one of the greatest sports gaming franchises of all time, worried they're going to ruin it just like they did the Madden franchise. But today, with my EA Sports college football wish list, I guarantee you if EA Sports has everything included in this wish list in the actual EA Sports college football game, the game will be just as enjoyable as it was when it was released previously. Now, I know a couple other YouTubers out there did other wish lists like this. I've been working on mine ever since they did release the news that a college football game was finally coming back. I know Not the Expert did a really great video, a huge long wish list video. Hopefully EA Sports does check his out. So if you guys do want to watch that, I will leave a link in the description box below. Hopefully EA Sports does get wind of these wish list videos, and you guys could do your part in making that happen and letting them know you want to see the stuff that guys like me and Not the Expert have in their wish list videos. You want that in the actual game. Make sure you like the video, make sure you tweet this at them, tweet Not the Expert's video at them, because I think what made NCAA such a great game is the community involvement was insane. Like, they actually took what the consumer and player wanted and put it in the game, and as long as they can actually do something right for once and listen to what we want, I believe this has the potential to be the greatest sports game of all time. Now, if there's anything I do leave off this list that you would like to see, maybe down the line to make another wish list video with some more things added, let me know in the comment section below. You guys think I'm kidding? I have an entire freaking wish list written down in this notebook. I've worked on this. And guys, really quick, if we can make it to 800k subscribers by the end of February, we're going to be giving away another next-gen console to one of my subscribers that are subscribed and have on notifications, so make sure to take that millisecond to click that subscription button if you haven't, so you can have a chance to win a free console. 800k by the end of February. Let's make it happen. Now, time to shut up and get back into the video. Some of these are major, some of these minor, some might seem very minute, but I think if everything that I put in this game with some other things that you guys would like to see that I'm forgetting and guys like Not the Expert want in the game were included, I promise you this game will be incredible. Now, I am using the college football revamped version, which is basically like an NCAA football 21, as kind of like a background to show you guys what I'm sort of talking about when I list things out for the wish list. Here's the first, and I believe the most important thing that has got to be in the EA Sports college football next title whenever it's released, and this might seem like a cop-out, but let me explain. What needs to be in that game? Everything that was in NCAA football 14, 13, 12, everything in that game better be in EA Sports college football. Everything you see, every game mode, every detail, every feature better be in there with more included. If there's anything missing that was in this game that's not in the next game, that's a major L. And let me explain. There's been so many game modes, features, etc. that was in like past Maddens that they took out the game, that are no longer in the game, that they're now starting to reintroduce over a year-by-year basis and act like it's new features, but it's not. Over the years, when they've released new titles, they've slowly but surely took out features and game modes that people loved, took them out for no reason at all. And they cannot do that with EA Sports college football. They can't. They've got to literally take everything that was in NCAA football 14, use that as a base, and just from then on, tweak and add onto for EA Sports college football. Like, they just can't leave anything out. And like I said, it's so important that that's the baseline, because they've messed that up so many times in all their other franchises, specifically Madden. That's why Madden sucks so much today. Road to Glory, it's got to be back. Obviously, Dynasty mode has got to be back. And they best, and I mean they best, have online Dynasty in EA Sports college football. This was by far the greatest thing in any sports game ever played. There's been so many things in similar instances like this, where there's like an online sort of franchise or dynasty mode that a bunch of friends could play in, and for whatever sports titles like decide to take it out. Like, there's sometimes they added a new feature, but they're missing a play a friend feature, which would seem like the most important feature there could be. Option to play with a friend, play with friends, or play a mode with friends, like a Dynasty mode, franchise mode, have friends in it. Been so many sports titles that has just completely missed the ball on that. If Online Dynasty is not the next game, it's right then and there, just completely ruined. If they don't have Online Dynasty, the game is not worth buying. Genuinely. This right here, most important thing. And just as is everything else that was in NCAA Football 14, better be in EA Sports College Football, like I said, which is tweaks and add-ons. Just for starters, mascot mode. It better be back in the game as well. That's such a fun mode that's just gotta be in the freaking game. Next, another thing that's gotta be in the game, team builder. Team builder better be in the game, but much more in depth I think they definitely can do. Obviously, the ability to edit rosters, edit coaches, roster share, all that better still be in the game. Like, obviously, like that's just a given. Custom playbooks, that's awesome. I believe they can even add on more to that, maybe give an option to create a play. And once again, talking about Dynasty mode, everything that was in Dynasty mode itself, not just including there being an online Dynasty that you can play with multiple friends, you better keep all the customization that you had in NCAA Football Dynasty in EA Sports College Football Dynasty, and add even more in-depth details, customization to the game mode as well. Like, for example, let's just start a new Dynasty. We'll just use an existing coach. Like, the amount of stuff that you could do just from right here, like this one screen right here, these 5 tabs, I guess these 4 tabs, have more customization for their Dynasty mode that EA Sports and Madden 21 has in their franchise mode combined times 75. That's just these 4 freaking tabs, not counting a bunch of other stuff in this Dynasty mode. The fact that you could even go in and change the bowl tie-ins. Like, if you wanted the Sugar Bowl to have the Pac-12 champion, you could do that. And obviously, there's now college football playoff, but there still could be a system like this, or maybe even the opportunity to expand the college football playoff. That would be freaking so awesome. The fact that you could customize conferences, this was so freaking awesome. I'm gonna get a lot of this stuff in detail more moving forward in the video, but the fact that you could literally customize everything about every conference. If you wanted Alabama into Pac-12, you could literally click swap, change Oregon State, go to the SEC, and you could put Alabama in the Pac-12. Literally everything was customizable, everything conference rules. You could even go as far as having the opportunity to have night games in November or not have night games in November. Like, literally everything. You could change the division names, you could change where the championship game for each conference was played. Like, everything. Like, this has got to be a bare minimum for what is included into EA Sports College Football for the Dynasty mode. Another thing, coaching carousel's got to still be in the game. It's got to be even more so. Maybe even add in a thing where you can go as far as having position coaches, like running back coaches, quarterback coaches, passing game coordinators. Imagine how awesome it would be, like, start so low, like right here, for example, if you want to start as an offensive coordinator as Air Force, like obviously in this Dynasty, you start an offensive coordinator, only control the offensive plays, and then eventually down the line get better job offers and eventually become a head coach. Imagine becoming like the running backs coach and only being able to play as the running back. You start so low and then eventually get a job as an offensive coordinator and then move your way up to head coach. Like, how awesome would that be? The coaching carousel, that's gotta stay. Like, that's so awesome. Like, all the coaching changes in the offseason, to see what coaches go where, to see fired coaches become the offensive coordinator somewhere else, taking a demotion because they got fired as a head coach. That's so awesome. That's hilarious because, like, I am still on point number 1 out of like 21 I have written down. Like I said, this is all just about just using everything that's still in the game. Like I said, the whole point of me explaining all this is the fact they just need to literally take everything that's in the game and it better still be in the next game and expand it. And like the customization, the custom schedules, like why can't in Madden 21 we customize our schedules? If I'm in an online franchise I'm Madden, I want to be able to schedule my friends that are on other teams but just not in my division. I want to be able to schedule them each and every year. I don't want to be random. In NCAA, you're able to do that. You had obviously your non-conference games that you can schedule and you can play your friends if they had a team that wasn't in your conference. Like, that's got to be the next game. Got to be. And that's just point number 1 done. This point was kind of down the list, but I want to go ahead and say it now because I think it's one of the most important points in this entire video, and it's kind of boring as well, but it's still important. Do not, and I mean do not, this might be the most important thing, do not let this stupid freaking Ultimate Team game mode take away from anything. I believe Ultimate Team, this might have been the first NCAA Football 14, the first year it was actually, the game mode was introduced into the game, and it was actually fun. It wasn't a cash grab. I didn't even know back then when I played that game that you could spend money on packs. And I still had an incredible time playing Ultimate Team as I did with Dynasty mode. Like, the Ultimate Team game mode was actually fun, but that's not the point. The point is, do not let it take away from anything. EA Sports needs to know that you can make money by making a good game. The better the game is, the more money you're going to make. The more people are going to buy it, the more people are going to play it. Yeah, I understand there's going to be an Ultimate Team more than likely, but the way Ultimate Team has transformed throughout the years with FIFA Ultimate Team, obviously Madden Ultimate Team, it's just taken away so much that I don't think like EA Sports understands. If they would just stop milking the money possible out of their Ultimate Team user base and actually created a good game, the money would come. Make your money in terms of uniforms. Make your money in terms of other ways. Yeah, you'll have Ultimate Team, you can make some money there, but just don't. Like, if you're gonna spend, like, if you're gonna completely overhaul Ultimate Team and make it like it is today, have a whole separate team, because if you take away even an ounce of the rest of the game by using all your resources in the Ultimate Team, it's going to be horrific. It's going to be like what everybody's worried it's going to be, and it's an absolute freaking stinker, because all your resources are going to go in the Ultimate Team and take away from everything else. Do not, and I mean do not, if you want to have an Ultimate Team game mode you want to make money, like I'm telling you right now, how mad the user base would be if you put all your freaking resources into a stupid freaking Ultimate Team game mode instead of everything else that we've been missing for the past 10 years. Like, that's gonna hurt you more than anything. So that's the biggest point of the entire video. Do not let your stupid Ultimate Team game mode take away from anything. Not even an ounce, not even a 0.1 of a percentage. No, bad EA. That's literally right there the two biggest points in the entire video. Like, everything else is a little bit more minute, but still big points as well. First thing, in talking about online Dynasty, is I believe it needs to be expanded to a possible 14 users per online Dynasty. Prior, it was 12. But since then, conferences have expanded to 14 teams. Multiple conferences have. And I believe that you should have the option to have each team in the conference controlled by a user. So that's simple. I believe that could very easily be done. Like in Madden, you can play with all 32 teams. Like you have 32 users using every single team. So it shouldn't be that big of a problem. I just think online Dynasty should be expanded. Maybe even more. Like maybe even have 24 teams. I don't think it should be anything crazy like every single FBS school should be able to be controlled by a user on an online Dynasty. Like, I think it'd be a little bit ridiculous having 100 plus users in the same online Dynasty. Heck, I mean, maybe, like, why not, I guess? Like, if you want to go through the trouble of actually managing a 130 team, like, online Dynasty, like, so be it. But at bare minimum, 14 users eligible to be in the same online Dynasty. Next thing, in the Road to Glory series, there's definitely gotta be some UI overhaul, some things that do need to be fixed. Like, for example, like, I can't check my roster. I can't check what recruits we got. I can't literally see who got injured. I know in my Road to Glory series, I was trying to see how long the quarterback above me was out for because I was playing and just curious how many weeks I had to actually be the starter. And there's just not a tab to see your injuries anywhere. And the only way you can actually even see your team schedule is you have to go into top 25 poll. And you have to like check that way by like looking this way and going over to team at info and team schedule, or you literally have to go to like play game here and click triangle, and then there you go again, have to check that way. You can't actually just see the team schedule by clicking where it says team schedule. So little things like that, like I want to see my schedule easily. I want to see my roster, all of the players are maybe redshirting that aren't on the depth chart, be able to see injuries at all time, that kind of stuff. In recruiting classes, you've got to be able to see who you're getting. Like obviously you're not able to recruit because you're a player, but you're just never able to see who your team is bringing in as recruits. I don't see how that should really be a big issue. You should at least be able to see an option before you go into the next season to see what recruits you have coming into your program. And oh yeah, you've got to completely overhaul this stupid coach trust system. It's a great idea, but the execution is horrific. The fact that I can throw 10 touchdowns, 1 interception is thrown, and it counteracts all those points I gained, stupid and stinky. And the fact that like I get sacked and that loses the amount of points as like 2 touchdowns would, like that's just, that kind of stuff just needs to be tweaked. It's I think a really smart system. The better you do, the more you unlock to be able to actually do in terms of freedom in your Road to Glory, but it's got to be tweaked a little bit. The coach trust, the point system got to be tweaked. And also something in Road to Glory I think needs to be kind of updated with the times is the ability to transfer. Nowadays, if you're a grad transfer, if you've already graduated from classes, and maybe they can add in some things that they did in the past where you had to go to class and stuff like that. I don't know why they took that out. That's actually really cool. You had to keep up with the GPA and stuff. You could get suspended if you sucked in school. Well, that's like a really important part of like your career. It's like the school part. That's what makes college football great. Like it's not just the football, it's the off the field stuff too. That's why you're a college student athlete. But you should have the ability to transfer because number one, if you're a graduate transfer, you get immediate eligibility. I think also from now on, there is a rule that you get 1 free transfer throughout your career. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure from now on, a player can once in their career transfer and have immediate eligibility. If not, they should still have the option where you could transfer and sit out for a year, but I think by the time this game comes out, that is going to be the case, where if you transfer, one time you have the chance to transfer and play right away. So you should have the option to be able to transfer in your Road to Glory. Also, I think it'd be really cool to add in a whole new walk-on section to Road to Glory. Obviously, you go through high school and you end up being a 5-star, 4-star, 3-star recruit, but what about the walk-on option where you go into college as a walk-on and you literally start out as like a 50 overall? Like, that would be a really cool whole new dynamic to a Road to Glory series, because that's a big thing. We see a ton of walk-on players go on and be stars today. I think that'd be really, really cool. Like, I know in the game mode, you can kind of like, even if the school doesn't offer you a scholarship, you can still go there, but it's still like the same exact experience. You still go on as a decent overall. So I think that would be really, really neat if there's a whole other dynamic where you can go into college as a walk-on. Here's another thing. I know in Madden now, the last few years, they've done a cinematic sort of Road to Glory, which I think could be a good thing, but it's gotta be so much better if it wants to be up to an NCAA football game standards. Like, the face of the franchise in long shot, oh my god, just like the story mode was so horrific. One of two things I believe needs to happen. Number one, if you're gonna do a face of the franchise type of thing for NCAA where there's a ton of story mode type action, which I think in theory could be fantastic, but they just have been awful in terms of their execution on Madden. I feel like a freaking goddamn banana could write a better story than what they did, and like the execution, everything awful. But if they're gonna do that and want it to be that same sort of style, I think they should keep the Road to Glory that's in the game now a completely separate game mode. I do think a Road to Glory that's in NCAA football now, added in with a few cutscenes, like maybe a Heisman Trophy presentation, like the day where you commit to college signing day, like you get to see a little cutscene of you picking hats and stuff like that, maybe talking to the coaches in terms of recruiting pitches and stuff like that. That'd be awesome. But don't take away the Road to Glory aspect that we have now and just throw in a stupid, stinky story mode with awful freaking, like, you want to be like a TV drama. Like, that's like already predetermined. It's stupid. One of two things, either keep them separate or actually be good. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, even if they just did the normal Road to Glory now, didn't really overhaul it too much, maybe just added in a few cutscenes like I said, and maybe a few decisive story mode actions potentially, but nothing stupid and forced. Like, I think it has potential, but just don't go full Madden. Literally, I think another very important point, just don't be like Madden. Literally, nobody that works on Madden, nobody leave. Have a completely different team, completely different set of standards. Just leave and don't have anything to do with NCAA. Like, for NCAA, the new EA Sports college football game, to be successful, it's got to be not even remotely a fraction close to what a Madden game is. Not even freaking remotely close. And one thing I think they do need to add back into this EA Sports college football game, and needs to be executed at a higher level, is the entire, like, EA Sports game face thing, where you used to be able to scan your face and be able to import it into your Road to Glory, into your creative player, into your story mode, so you would have your actual face kind of scanned into the game. Like, I don't even think it works anymore, and I think it's a great feature. Like, instead of having like your generic faces that you have to like pick from and like change your hair and everything, imagine actually being able to scan your face, kind of like they do in 2K career mode. This needs to 100% be added back into the game and just overhaul completely. So like, because it's like I said, it's just completely different immersion, like actually seeing your face in the game if you want it to be. I don't even think the freaking website works anymore. Now, this one's cool in theory, although I don't really know how it could be executed to perfection. Like, I would love to see FCS schools in the game. The ability for FCS schools to like jump to Division I FBS, being able to add schools into the top division of college football would be awesome. You see it every year. Teams like Appalachian State, Coastal Carolina, even my university, University of South Alabama, has transitioned from FCS to FBS. So the ability to have, maybe like they can't obviously have a whole like extra 80 something teams, 120 something teams that are in the FCS level into the game, but maybe have a selection of like 30 and 40 and have the option to bring them to FBS throughout your dynasty, or maybe have them as an option to start as an FCS school in your dynasty. I think that'd be awesome, because that's college football. Like, you see, like, obviously they used to have like where you'd play FCS Southwest, FCS East in your dynasty mode, but imagine replacing them with, you know, your, who's like Jacksonville State, Furman, North Dakota State. Imagine being able to take North Dakota State as an FCS school and bring them as an FCS powerhouse into FBS football, maybe in the Pac-12, and let them take over the FBS world as well. So like I said, I don't know how they'd be able to effectively execute bringing all FCS schools, but maybe take like the top 10, 15, 20 FCS schools and give you the option to play as them in EA Sports College Football in a Dynasty mode, or maybe in a Dynasty mode where you don't even pick them, have the option each and every year to be able to add them into the FBS level. Next thing that's so important is the fact that you need all of the stadiums in the game. Every single FBS school, number one, they better have every single FBS school, which I think they will, but you never know. It's EA Sports. Like, it's so funny. My university, South Alabama, they actually forgot to put them into the game when they transitioned to FBS. Hilarious, because they actually, next year, EA Sports felt really bad and, like, went to the stadium and got custom, like, chants and the actual stadium scan and everything. But how are you a billion-dollar company and forget to put a college football team in the game? Anyways, obviously, every single FBS school, at the time the game's released, needs to be in the game, but I feel like it's so important that every single, like, actual stadium's in the game as well, because like that's college football tradition, stadium atmosphere. That's what makes college football so great. So if you don't have like all the stadiums and the actual custom atmosphere, it's just not the same. Next, I believe Team Builder does need to be expanded. It needs to stay in the game, obviously, but it needs to be expanded to where maybe even you can build the team in the game instead of having to be like on the computer or something. Like, obviously have two options, but not everybody has a PC, not everybody has a way to like go on a computer, build a team that way and import it, whatever. But the option to actually build it on the game doesn't have to be as intricate as maybe it could be on the computer, but ability is for the people that don't have an option to get on the computer to be able to build a team, make a team builder school on the game itself. Now with that also brings the stadium expansion sort of ideal I do have on this wish list. Like, if you're a team and you want to start as a crappy team in a team builder, like you want to be a 0-star prestige, you have really nobody showing up to the games, I feel like you should have the ability to, throughout time, be able to expand your stadium, because that's how it works in real life. A bad football, not a bad football team, but a new football team, they're just starting. They're not going to have this huge, massive stadium, but over 20, 30 years, they start to become a powerhouse in college football. They need to expand, build a stadium. Like, on top of that, like teams that don't have on-campus stadiums, you should have the option throughout your dynasty to create an on-campus stadium. Like, for example, my University of South Alabama Jaguars, we didn't have an on-campus stadium for like the first 10 years of our program's history. We just got an on-campus stadium last year, and it's absolutely beautiful. So the option throughout your dynasty as you build up to be able to, if you don't play on campus, because I think it's a huge thing in college football, like playing off campus versus on campus, like that's two completely different worlds. Like, college football is just not nearly as great playing at an off-campus stadium versus an on-campus stadium. It's completely just kind of just changes the atmosphere and everything. So if you're a team that wants to either build a better stadium, change your location, change your stadium, or just build an on-campus stadium because you don't have one, that should be an option in your dynasty as well. Another thing I think is pretty big in dynasty mode, if you're trying to import a team builder team, or like we mentioned, if there's FCS teams that you want to add to FBS, make it to where you don't have to replace a team. They just get added to the FBS level. Like before, if you wanted to play with not the experts UGF Pandas, you had to replace a team like, for example, Tulane, and Tulane was no longer in college football. You should be able to just add them to FBS level and nothing should really change. I shouldn't have to replace a school to add a school to the FBS. Like, obviously there's got to be a cap where the game will break. Like, maybe you can only add up to 150 FBS schools, but I feel like it kind of takes away from the complete college football experience if when you add in a team builder team, you have to take away an existing team every single time. So like, if I'm playing in the Big 12 and I want to add a team builder team to the Big 12, I don't want to have to replace a team. I just want the Big 12 to add teams to that conference. And another thing, I feel like this will be changed as well, as it will kind of update with the times. But the most annoying thing was, I always loved in dynasty mode for every single conference to have a conference championship game, because I feel like that's so important for a conference's prestige. But in the game and in the past rules, you had to have 12 teams for there to be a conference championship game, to have two separate divisions. But it was almost impossible with you only being able to work with 128 teams to get 12 teams in every single freaking conference. So there would always be like one or two conferences that I could not have 12 teams in to have a conference championship game. But for example, today, the Big 12, which is weird, they have 10 schools, but they now have a conference championship game. I think that should just be reflected in the new game, to where if you're doing custom conferences, to have a conference championship game, you don't have to have 12 teams. You can have separate divisions, like 5 teams in each division. You don't have to have 12 teams to have the conference championship game. You can have 10 teams to have the conference championship game. And another thing I think would be super cool, especially if you're able to keep adding FBS schools to a certain level, like you can have up to 150 schools, the ability to create new conferences. Imagine being able to, like, if you want to, create super conferences and be able to choose at that point that they're the teams that get to make it to the college football playoff. If you just want to experience conference realignment, like however you want it to be, you want to create whatever conference you want to and change the conferences around to make them seem more geographically acceptable, that's all up to you. I think the ability to create a custom conference and just change schools all around, just completely change the college football landscape, that will be absolutely freaking incredible. Another thing, I kind of already mentioned this, the ability to expand the college football playoff. Maybe by the time the game comes out, the college football playoff will be expanded to like maybe 6-8 teams, but hopefully they'll allow you to have that customization. Like if I want to have a 16-team college football playoff, let me freaking have it. Next, please let us run our dynasties as long as we want to. I know in Madden, I think it changed, like it's actually decreasing. In Madden, you can only have a franchise for like 30 years. Sometimes 30 years isn't enough time to build your program as much as you want to. Like my South Alabama Jaguars right now, I don't think 30 years from now, they'll be able to compete with the Alabamas, Auburns, maybe, just maybe 100, 200 years from now, maybe, but it takes time to grow a program. If like it was a Madden like franchise, you can only play 30 years, how are you supposed to build a program, completely overhaul the program and become a powerhouse in 30 years? That's not necessarily realistic. I don't think that was a problem. I'm not sure what the cap was for years in NCAA, but just don't let it be like Madden. Keep it like it was in the past. I know FIFA only play 15-year franchise, 15-year whatever it's called, career mode. Stupid. Another thing, I believe all the head coaches should have their face scanned. Just like it is in Madden, all the head coaches have their face scanned. Let it happen in NCAA. I know it might be a little bit harder because there's 130 FBS schools and it'll take a lot to get all the head coaches' face scanned. But bro, come on. If you're trying to make a good game, you're EA Sports billion-dollar company. Like, it's not that big of an ask. Second to last, and this one actually, now I'm thinking about it, made me kind of sad, is I want the Corso headgear thing back in the game. It used to be a thing. I don't understand why they took that out. You used to be able to see before each game, Corso put the headgear on. That's college football right there. Got to thinking though, is Corso really going to still be on game day 2-3 years from now? Even if it isn't, like, keep the tradition going. Like, that's a cool thing. Not a big, huge, like, necessary thing, but like, it was in the game before. Why not bring it back? And last but not least, I think this would be probably one of the coolest features they added in their Dynasty mode, and that's the player's ability to grow throughout college, or maybe shrink if they're a little bit overweight coming out of high school. Like when a player commits to a college and gets into college from like their high school senior season, they still have room to grow. Like you see a ton of players lose weight if they need to, gain weight, like players put on so much muscle. Like look at this picture of Mac Jones and look at him now. Like players gain weight from their freshman season to their senior season, from their senior high school season to their freshman college season. Like that's just what happens when you hit a freaking FBS program's athletic training program. Like, we need to see players maybe even grow in height, because some players do grow in height in their college years. They definitely need to go up in weight. Like, I'm just so tired of, like recruiting a 200-pound linebacker and him being 200 pounds when he's a senior. Like, that just doesn't happen. There's got to be some way to have some sort of dynamic, like, growth system in the game, because that's what happens in real life. Well, that's it. That's a long video. Hopefully, EA Sports sees this and takes a lot of these features and actually add them into the game, because that would make a great game. But at the same time, it's EA Sports. They always let us down. Hopefully not this time. Like, the only thing that can really top how bad life's been the last 2 years is them making EA Sports football an absolute stinker.